Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Date Yourself podcast. I have a lovely conversation with Lilli Bewley in this episode, who is a dating coach. We talk about being discerning, and this is for all the girlies who do the work, the inner work, but still kind of have a lot of difficulty finding healthy love. I really love this conversation that we've had. So I hope you love it just as much as I did, and let's go to the show. Welcome, guys, to episode 16 of the Date Yourself podcast. I'm here today with a very special guest, Lilli, who is a dating coach. And Lilli, would you mind sharing who you are helping with dating? Who are the women that you're coaching?
Yeah. Well, thank you once again for having me here on the show. I love, like I said before, I love talking about dating. I love talking about love. And it's really because a lot of the healing that I've done personally, my trials and tribulations of what I've gone through in my life with failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship, and finally getting to this point where I have welcome epic love in my life. And I always like to say that I was born with a big heart. My heart was big, or is big, loving, caring, kind. And based off of the environment that I grew up in, in childhood, the models that I had for relationship, which is my parents basically, and then all of kind of the failed relationships that tended to follow me throughout my life, what I started to learn was that um there's a lot of work that we can do inside of ourselves to welcome what we want and the results in our outer life. And I kind of realized at one point, because I was that type of woman that I got pretty much everything that I wanted. I was very competitive. I was achievement oriented. I had the car, the house, the banging resume, the body, the boyfriend and all this stuff. And I kind of hit this wall in my journey where I had really accumulated and achieved everything that society and my parents and my friends told me that I should achieve to be happy. And I was in this relationship. It was a pretty toxic relationship. And I kind of just hit a wall because I was so like outwardly, I was happy and everything was quote unquote fine. But inside, I was really just dying inside, spiritually, mentally, physically. And that's kind of what that was like my first awakening to kind of get me to into personal development, to where I am today. And then the reason I kind of landed here today in the realm of dating, the number one trauma informed dating expert, is that what I started to learn is that I could do a lot of inner work on myself, but there was always something blocking me, and I didn't really understand what it was because I kept seeing the same patterns in relationship. And a lot of the same patterns that I started to see was the lack of match in the partner to be willing to grow,
Yeah,
to evolve. I don't know if kind of what your patterns are in relation.
it's resonating. Let's just keep
Yeah.
it at
I don't know what your
that.
patterns are, but like, people that are listening, how many times in their relationships have they held the emotional weight? Have they pushed they were the ones pushing the relationship forward. They were the ones, learning communication styles and love languages to get closer to their partner. So I did all that in that past relationship. And what I learned through that was that it's not that love isn't all we need. It's actually willingness between two parties to come together and walk the same path. So what I was missing in that relationship was a willing person that was wanting to love and to grow and to heal and all of that stuff. So I could not keep dragging him along because I was dying. Like I was literally dying. And so I got to that level. And then the next level was okay, like the choice in partner really matters. But then what started happening for me, and this happens for my clients too, is that they, and I did too, they have a hard time picking the right people, knowing who is good for them and who is not, listening to their intuition instead of their friends, their family advice on Instagram. learning how to know truly what your needs, wants, and desires are, like truly what they are, and then being able to speak up for their needs, wants, and desires, holding boundaries and sticking with them. All of those things in dating is really important because what'll happen if you're not very clear on who you are, then it will be very unclear with the relationship that you start walking down the path. And then you get to a point where you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
And you've been there for too long. So that's why I started with I help women heal the inside of themselves with dating, is because it's all about what's happening on the inside of us to get the outside result. Most of the women I work with have done a lot of work on themselves, but they just can't seem to get that relationship piece right. And really what it does is it aligns behaviors, actions, emotions, thoughts, and beliefs all onto one page, walking the same path, all in the same game. One of my coaches said, you can't polish a turd, right? So like from the beginning, let's pick the right people, right? Let's
Yeah.
know who's good for us and who is not. And so
Yeah, for sure.
super important in this work.
And what would you say if you look back on that journey that you walked and the relationships that you've been in? Like, what is one thing that you wish you knew or you wish you had done differently? Because I know that you are now in like a successful, amazing partnership. But compared to that, what do you think is like one of the things that made that difference?
Hard to say, right? Because
A lot of components.
yeah, I mean it's hard, that's hard to say. I don't think I would have done anything differently, but I probably would have courageously, like if I had to talk to my like mid 25, 25-year-old self, because it's again, like these followed me, like all these relationships and these, when I didn't feel seen and heard and understood, they were there.
Yeah.
And I think what I would say is courageously be open to a better way. Because I didn't really know, like in my family, therapy wasn't, it kind of poo-pooed, like it wasn't accepted. Self-help really wasn't accepted. It was just, a fairly toxic environment when it comes to like growth and development. It wasn't really, go figure. But yeah, that was the family system with my trauma. I think what the hardest part is, especially today, and maybe women that are listening to this, is especially if you're the goddess woman archetype, which is the feminine dating archetypes is something that is really big in my work. And if anyone's listening, I don't know if you've taken the quiz yet, Amber, but it's datingarchetype.com. And like the goddess woman archetype, for example, has done a lot of really great conscious work about, just personal development work, whether that be shadow work or anything. But she's still seeing this really not healthy pattern in her dating and relationships. And the hardest thing to do, especially for someone that has already done a lot of work on herself, is to let go, not let go, but to be open to not controlling what's happening inside of her, and to not be perfect, to wear those perfect, those masks of perfection. Because control and perfection has probably got her to where she is today, which is like a successful, probably very beautiful and fit on the outside, but again on the inside there's this disconnect of like what's happening on her Instagram versus what's happening on in her daily, or her dating life, really. So I would say, I don't like, the thing that I would just encourage people to do is just courageously be open to something different, to, a better way of doing things that maybe you don't know yet. And it's courageous because if you don't know something, what's going to happen, you don't know, you can't control things, that it is, kind of scary for parts of us.
Yeah. I also have to think about one of the questions that I got. I asked you guys on Insta some questions. One of the questions that I got is from someone who hasn't dated for a long time after like some toxic relationships in the past. And her question to you is actually like how to know how to trust again and when that moment is to be ready to get out there again after like years and maybe like trust issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, self-trust in dating and relationships, and trusting other people in general is such a huge, huge deal. Um, the encouragement that I would say, to one of your followers is that if you're not trusting, if you're finding it hard to trust other people in your life, whatever it be, friendships, dating, but if you're noticing that fear come up, the internal work is going to be the self-trust inside of yourself. So like my guess is this person um has seen herself kind of go down that road with the wrong type of person, and she has stayed too long. And so
Mm,
what's happened probably is that different parts of her, we're made up of a multitude of parts inside of ourselves. And we're not crazy because one part's like, oh, yeah, I can sleep with this person and it be okay. And the other part's like, I catch feelings and it's not, it doesn't end well. So we're not crazy. It actually makes a lot of sense based off of things that we went through in the past.
yeah.
But um if her what happens on the inside of us, if we do things, if our actions and behaviors don't line up with our emotions, beliefs, and thoughts, then different parts of us will start to not trust ourselves. And that's like the anxiety that we feel inside of ourselves. That's like the fear, the shutdown, the maybe like the pit in her stomach, or whatever's happening to her in her body. And it's really just her parts saying, I don't want to go down this road again. I'm really, really scared to walk down this road again. And so the healing work for her is working on those different self-trust things inside of herself, so she can trust all of her parts, can trust herself to make the right decision on who is good for her and who is not. And this work is so powerful because, women will go from, like they'll notice themselves kind of like being in this anxiety type of state for 3 to 5 months or something when they're dating. But when they start to do this work, we start to relearn to listen to their intuition, what's a yes and what's a no, because a lot of times like things like listen to your gut, they don't make sense if you've had trauma.
Yeah.
Like that's it. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy as that. It's relearning like what does yes feel like in your body? And it may be different for me than it is for you, Amber, or the person, that put this question. So it's all really subjective.
Yeah.
That's the thing about trauma is we've all had our different experience. So the healing is going to be a little bit different, right? So again, like it's for her probably will be the work about self-trust, about how to listen, like what do her voices sound like? What does yes, what does no sound like? And it's a lot deeper, than just talking about it on a podcast or reading about it in books, because she probably has never been encouraged in her life to listen to herself
Yeah.
and to actually actualize her not actual well, yeah, kind of like she's never been encouraged to speak up for herself. So that's her healing. And when parts of her start to do that and observe her do that, right, in real life, then they start to be like, okay, she can handle this. We don't need to hold on to this fear anymore. But it's a process. It's a process. I work with my clients, my programs typically last 5 months, and I have clients typically renew. So sometimes I work with clients on average of a year and a half because it just takes so much time to,
Integration.
yeah, it takes so much time to do that inner work to get the outer, epic love and true love result that you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally get that. This also makes me think of when you said like listening to your gut, to your intuition. Of course, that's like my work. I help people to really know what that sounds like. But then also there might be a lot of noise around you from friends, from family, or society, who says like, no, you should go for this type of person, or you should like have a whole face, sleep with everyone, whatever. Like dating culture right now, to me, like is crazy sometimes. How do you trust yourself, and do you speak about this process with others? How can you kind of be discerning in what you're going through with dating, and to which voices you are listening, because those are still around, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, shameless plug here, but I mean, if you're seeing patterns in your relationship, patterns in dating about inside and outside of yourself, whether that be like you are sleeping with someone too quickly, you maybe really didn't want to, or you said that you can handle it, but it ends up bad, and you see that again and again, or you're attracting emotionally unavailable men, or you're just not having fun in the dating process, and it's just a pattern for you. A lot of people that I talk with have really formed parts of these women have formed really specific beliefs around what dating is. And in fact, dating with the right system and the right process is actually, it is really joyful and fun because you actually get to like you get to be discerning, which is like for me, that is a very joyful experience because I had never had that in the first, 3 decades of my life.
I love that reframe.
Yeah, yeah. I always say like, there is this, I used to be this way as well, like dating sucks, dating sucks, dating sucks.
Mm.
What I like to say is it's not that dating sucks, it's that your experience with dating sucks. So
Mm.
how do you change your experience? And you change your experience by what's happening on the inside, what you say yes to, what you say no to, how empowered do you feel? How discerning do you feel? Are you able to, I remember when I was on the dating apps, like it was very hard for me to keep up with all of the messages, like it just felt like another job. It doesn't have to be that way, right? And I always call the apps the delete and download cycle on the apps, right? Like it's like hope, then frustration and confusion,
Yeah.
hope, then frustration and confusion, which is like really, really hard for yourself and your nervous system.
Mm.
Um, what did you ask me? I forget though.
How to kind of use your discernment listening to the outside noises of what you should do. How do you know when to listen to the outside voices and when to like really just keep it to yourself what the process is?
Got it. Okay. So thank you. Thank you for that. So what I was saying was that in the process that I do a lot, what we do first is a lot of healing. It's a foundation that we do for healing. Then if the client's ready, we will together go out into what I call trigger town, which is dating.
I love that. Trigger time.
So the hard answer is that because I know this person, a lot of my clients are the type of person that you just said, Amber, which is they find there's a lot of noise out there, friends, family, Facebook groups. It's crazy to me how many people look for advice in Facebook groups from people that don't even know them.
Mm.
Um, but if you're finding it hard to listen to your voice, your job is to get into therapy or coaching. Or if you can't do that, do the books and the podcasts. But what comes up during the dating process, right, is trigger town. Like it is definitely trigger town. And to have support while those triggers are coming up, instead of your friends and your family who don't make you feel seen and understood and heard and loved. They'll say, there are many fish in the sea or just go have fun. Just going have fun for me, it killed me. Like really, my soul died for a couple of years when I was just going having fun dating. So your work, how do you do this? Your work is all you have to do is get into a healing container and date at the same time. If you have a good practitioner, you will be able to start to heal the things that are coming up for you, right? That's how you do it. It's not a snap your fingers type of thing. Oh, now I'm discerning after decades of trauma and a crappy, model and relationship for my parents, right? Like it's not something that we can overcome in just a short amount of time. A lot of the work that I do is neuroplastic. We do a lot of neural rewiring. We do nervous system rewiring because that is where your intuition comes from. It comes from all of your body being on board as a woman with what is good for you and what is not. The thing is if you're seeing patterns in your dating life that you don't like, is that the good news is that it's really not you. It is just a wounded part of you that is screaming to be healed, right? So a pattern is just a part of you that really, really wants you to heal. And so that's how I do it. I take people to Trigger Town, I hold their hand, and we work through the different things that are coming up during the process, like the anxiety, the overwhelm. If you haven't heard from them in 72, 48 hours, the confusion of he says he likes me, but his actions aren't lining up. What should I do? All the overthinking happening in your head. So we just process through all of that. And then what happens is layer after layer, time after time, it's a process of kind of getting to the core of who that woman is so that she can speak up for her needs and wants and desires. And that's the process that I've seen over, years of doing this.
And the results are that they can easily like discern what type of person is truly good for them through learning how to be discerning and feel those yes and no's in their body. Is that right?
I think, yeah, it's a success when we can do that, which it always is. Just the level, like, for example, this is what I like to say. Success in this type of healing is really, quote unquote success is really, really kind of hard to measure, right? Because it's not like I'm not a business coach, so I can't like look at your monthly revenue or whatever and see if it worked. But what I can say is you can discern if you have been healing. If, for example, like say you and I work together, Amber, and the last kind of dating relationship that you were in was like 5 months, but it was like not good, like you, for the most part, it was like you just kind of waiting around for him to show up for you, or to be a different man or whatever. The healing, how we would measure healing, or how I would measure healing, and knowing that we did a little bit better, is if that time was 5 months, we start working together. If in 3 months you were able to kind of discern a little bit better, oh, he's not for me. But and if it's aligning, it's not like faking it or putting on masks or anything. But if we were able to discern within 3 months that this person isn't right for you, then that's a win. And then it kind of gets down, and then it kind of whittles down into 2 months, and then 1 month, and then that's why we put people out there in the dating process, is because it can't be replicated. Like I can't bring up any we do a lot of foundational healing work at the beginning. And when we go out there in the dating world, that's when all of the patterns and the wounded parts of us really, really start kicking up. And that's when, like I said, I like to take people to Trigger Town to to do the healing.
Amazing, yeah. So thank you so much, Lilli, for this beautiful conversation. I learned a lot already. Lilli has a beautiful quiz, the archetype quiz that she briefly talked about. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, and then we'll wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, I would welcome anyone, any woman that's either dating or currently in relationship. Sometimes you still see patterns in relationship that you'd like to work on yourself, to take the dating archetype quiz. It's at datingarchetype.com. And it's 2 minutes. It will reveal your blocks to love and help you find your true love match. And it'll also give you kind of pointers for there are 4 different archetypes, and it'll kind of give you pointers on how to get to the next level. Because the archetypes for me, obviously this was my journey. It was my journey. And then I started to see patterns with the women that I was working with. And then God was like, this is something. And then the archetype quiz came. So, so it was phases for me. The chill woman, the fortress woman, the goddess woman, and then the magnetic woman is the woman that I aspire to be and my clients aspire to be as well. But it'll give you kind of little pointers about, what can move you forward as far as your deeper level healing to get you kind of to the next phase, so you can get to the magnetic woman and be a magnet for everything that you desire and deserve.
Attracting, manifesting. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this special episode with the first ever guest. Let me know on Insta or through email what you thought of this episode, if you had any aha moments. I will link all Lilli's stuff below so you can take that quiz if you are interested in that. Also, let me know any further topics that you want to hear me speak on, or maybe also interview someone else. Recommendations are always welcomed. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or evening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.